Death as Godmother, a Croatian folk tale collected by Mijat Stojanović and published in Zagreb in 1867. There was a poor man. His wife bore him a child with every cabbage. He had a heap full of children, each one up to the other's ear, and his wife was expecting again. The poor man fell into despair. No one would stand as godparent to his children anymore. One day he went into the forest to gather firewood. His heart was full of sorrow and worry. He began to lament and wail. "Oh, death, lonely death! Where are you? How are you? Why do you not come and kill me? Where shall I go? What shall I do? Oh, death, lonely death!" He was still crying out when Death appeared from behind a bush. "Here I am," said Death. "What do you want of me?" When the poor man caught sight of Death, he was frightened, but in his fear he bethought himself and said, "Dear Death, I am calling you to be godmother to my child. My wife will soon give birth, and I cannot find a godparent." Death said she would gladly stand as godmother. When the child was born, let him come to the forest. He would find her by that very bush. Some time passed, and the wife bore a male child. Now the poor man had 8 sons and 7 daughters. He went to the forest for the godmother. When he came there, a woman in dark clothing was waiting by the bush, and she went with the poor man. They took the child. They went to the parish priest. The child was christened. They named him Smirtko. The name in the old tongue means little death, death's own. The godmother took good care of her godchild and gave him much money. The poor man lived better than ever before. The whole household was lifted up. The poor man shook off his misery and got back on his feet. When little Smirtko was old enough for schooling, his father sent him off to school at the godmother's expense. The child studied well. He went from the lower school to the higher, and ever further. At last, Smirtko became a physician. He began to treat the sick, but whoever he prescribed medicine for died. Soon no one called for the physician Smirtko any more. One day Death appeared to him and asked, "How fares it, godson?" "Badly, dear godmother, never worse. All my patients die the moment I lay hands upon them." "Fear not, godson," said Death. "From now on it will be better. When you are called to a sick person, I will always show myself to you. Whenever you see me standing at the head of the patient's bed, do not prescribe medicine. It will not help. But whenever you see me standing at the patient's feet, treat him. You will cure him." A short time later, a rich man in the nearby town fell gravely ill. The finest physicians from everywhere had treated him. Nothing helped. He spared neither effort nor expense, but nothing availed. Physicians were summoned from all sides to consult on what might be done. The doctors deliberated hour after hour, and all said, "There is no help," and they left. The sick man's brother-in-law asked the household whether they had called the physician Smirtko. They said, "No, how could we, when we hear that every patient dies whom he treats?" "A drowning man clutches even at lead," said the brother-in-law. "Come what may, call him. If he cannot help, at least the sick man will be freed from his misery." They sent for the physician Smirtko and summoned him to the patient. Smirtko came at once. The moment he entered the room and approached the patient's bed, he saw Death standing at the patient's feet. He examined the sick man, felt his pulse, questioned him, and wrote out a prescription. As soon as the patient tasted Smirtko's medicine, he felt better. Within a few days, better and better still. Everyone marveled. The rich man recovered. He rewarded the physician Smirtko handsomely. Now others called for him too. He could hardly manage to attend to them all. A nobleman's daughter fell ill. The finest physicians had treated her. There was no help. Word of the physician Smirtko had reached the city, so they sent for him. Let him come and treat her. Smertko came and cured the nobleman's daughter as easily as lifting an illness from her with his hand. Now Smertko rode in a carriage, and his father and mother and brothers and sisters all lived well beside him. But now and then the physician Smertko also came to patients where he found his godmother Death standing at the head of the bed. Whenever he saw this, he did not treat them, but said, "Tend to his soul, there is no help here." Death, his godmother, warned him, "Do not treat anyone, not under any circumstances where you see me standing at the head of the bed. It could go badly for you, my godson." Smertko heeded this. But one day a great nobleman fell ill. They called for the physician Smertko to treat him. Smertko came to the patient. He saw Death sitting at the headboard. "It is too late," said the physician. "Do not say that," pleaded the relatives. "The sick man has a wife and many small children, brothers and sisters." They all gathered round to plead with the physician. They wept and wailed. They wrung their hands. A stick would have wept. A stone would have cried. Smertko approached the bedside again. His godmother Death wagged her finger at him. "Let him leave this business alone." Smertko said again, "There is no help." The whole house wept. He was overcome with pity. "Come," he said, "turn the patient round, put the feet where the head was." Death remained in her place and did not follow the headboard. Smertko gave the patient medicine, and he recovered. Death, the godmother, seized her godson by the hand and led him into the forest. She said, "If you do that one more time, you shall pay with your own head." Smertko promised his godmother, "Never again." "Dear godmother," begged Smertko, "tell me, how much longer shall I live?" Death said, "Come with me and you shall see." She led him into a cave. It was dark in the cave as inside a horn. Death lit a torch and led her godson deeper and deeper to a pair of great doors. The doors opened. When they stepped inside, a vast space beyond what the eye could take in. In that space burned candles without number, as many as the stars in the sky. One candle was large, tall, and thick. Another small, short, and thin. One had just been lit. Another had burned down to the halfway mark. Another was nearly spent. Yet another guttered, flickered, and went out. "What are these countless candles?" asked Smertko. "As many candles as there are here, so many living souls walk upon the earth. When a man is born, his candle is lit, and when his candle burns down, he dies. It also happens that a candle is snuffed out before it has fully burned." "I beg you, dear godmother," said Smertko, "since you have brought me here, show me my candle so I may see how much is left." "There it is," said Death, and she pointed to a stub of candle that had all but burned away. "Oh, dear godmother," said Smertko, "a little more and it will burn out." "It only seems so," said Death. "There is still a good bit left. These candles do not burn as fast as tallow." "By our bond of godparenthood," begged Smertko, "light me a new piece in place of my stub, even the tiniest bit. Come, dear godmother, add on a little." The godmother heeded her godson and added on a fair-sized piece, and a good thick one. Smertko thanked his godmother warmly. He went home, and he lived a long time more. But at last his hour came too. Surely the candle had burned down. The old physician fell ill. One day he lay sick in his bed. The door opened. His godmother, Death, entered the room. She stood at the head of the bed. Godson Smertko took his pillow and turned himself in the bed, putting his head where his feet had been. Godmother Death stepped round again to the head and said, "Godson, it is no use fumbling about. Your candle is burning down. There is no medicine, no escape." She spoke these words, swung her scythe, and Smertko gave up his soul. That was the tale of Death as godmother. If you enjoyed it, the full collection, Mijat Stojanović's Folk Tales, is available in print. Subscribe for more Croatian and South Slavic tales, and I will see you at the next bedside.